If you're like me, you've been trying to figure out the whole short form content thing. I'll be the first to admit that I've struggled with it. In fact, I want to start this video by giving you the first tip, but also ranting. It turns out that on Instagram, people have been telling you, oh, post reels. Reels are the way to go. Instagram is pushing reels, so it's super easy to get. Turns out there was one single option that I had to turn off in order for my reels to reach the general public. A single little button that I had to tap. And by default, this button is actually on. So it's automatically restricting my videos in a way. Why? Why would you do that? Anyways, that button is the share to feed button. It says, hey, if you share to feed, it's going to appear in your feed and it may appear on the Reels Explore page. Listen, if you're in the comments right now and you've never turned off this option, tell me how many views you've been getting, because I've been stuck at like 200 views for the past year until I turned it off and oh, all of a sudden I'm going to have 15,000 views. I'm going to have 75,000. What is going on? All right, that's not the whole video. This video, I want to basically tell you my relationship with short form content and things that I did the research on and things that I learned and things that I had to learn the hard way and things that actually work. My goal here is to hopefully get you some tips based off of my very real experience as a full-time content creator who is actually trying to make content that a lot of people watch. We're not just going to talk about Instagram Reels, we're going to talk about TikTok, we're going to talk about YouTube Shorts, and we're going to do all that right after a message from our sponsor, okay? Get your pen and notepad ready or whatever. And this video is sponsored by Owned. Owned is the one-stop shop for live streamers. If you want overlays, you want emotes, you want animated emotes, you want badges, anything you need. But one thing that should grab your attention right now is that they have the official Call of Duty overlays for live streamers. So this is not something inspired, this is not something made to vaguely resemble, this is officially licensed overlays. And it's complete with intermission screens, your just chatting scenes, your camera overlays, even if you have a green screen, they thought of that. You got your labels bars, your animated alerts, and everything you need to make your Twitch channel look great. And I know I mentioned Twitch, but it's not the only platform that's supported. You're gonna have Kick, you're gonna have YouTube, absolutely everything you need. So go check it out over at owned.gg/GaelLevel. That is own3d.gg/GaelLevel. Okay, honestly, this YouTube channel was successful and I never thought that I actually needed to post short form content. I always thought of it as, okay, it's a new canvas if I wanna do anything creative or if I wanna share something on my mind, but maybe it's not necessary. As a full-time content creator, I have to prioritize things that are basically making me money, but also things that seem to be already working to keep cultivating it. But after posting a couple of TikToks for fun, some of them went viral and I was like, oh, maybe this is sustainable. That being said, to this day, I still haven't taken it completely seriously. I still haven't been posting like a full-time TikToker or anything, but I made it into some sort of partner program. I am in France and France has like their different creativity program thing. So that sounds like, oh, a new source of income through content. Isn't that great? The thing is, I only made it into a creativity program after getting 20,000 followers. I don't know if it's because that didn't exist before, or if you need to get 20. I just don't want you to use my example as, oh, I can easily get on TikTok, start posting videos and start making money. No, at least this is not my experience. My experience is like, I was on TikTok for like 2-3 years and then I reached only 20. I gotta be careful here. I can't say only 20,000 followers, but it is when I reach 20,000 followers that I finally started making sense really on TikTok. Then there's Instagram Reels. People were like, hey, push your Reels. Instagram is pushing them and stuff like that. It's easy to get a bunch of views. And yeah, until recently, I didn't know what that felt like because my Reels were just not getting views really, to the point where I basically abandoned the idea of even trying to grow a community based on Instagram. I have such love-hate relationship, mostly hate relationship with Instagram, where I love stories, right? I love checking out my friends' stories. I like scrolling the reels. I'll admit it. I scroll on Instagram. I also scroll on TikTok and also YouTube. But other than that, I hate the platform so much. It's just full of bots and nothing is real. It feels so difficult. It's probably the hardest out of the three to actually grow. So if you decide to not like include Instagram in your strategy and your content strategy, that'll be completely fine, depending on your niche, right? If you do things like beauty products or photography or things like that, or if you're a car guy and stuff like, you should be on Instagram. Like there's a lot of people that are into that stuff on Instagram. But if your thing is gaming or maybe tech, it's not as solid. I'm not gonna say there's not a lot, but the competition and the effort doesn't seem to be worth the reward. Then let's talk about YouTube Shorts. So YouTube Shorts, I have experience on YouTube Shorts on a channel that already has a bunch of subscribers and on channels that have literally that had 0 subscribers. And honestly, the best thing you can do at first is throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. It is very, very inconsistent when it comes to the reach. you'll have videos that get a bunch of views for no reason, and then you'll get videos that get like 2 views. I have a VR channel. I posted a video that took me a whole night to work on, and it's currently sitting at 2 views. And you know what those 2 views are from? They're from me. I watched it twice. But then on my movie channel, I'll post a clip of me being like, oh my God, Brendan Fraser, and then that will get thousands of views. So please do not feel bad if you posted something and it seemed to have immediately flopped, right? The algorithm is weird, and sometimes it's trying to figure out what type of content you post, especially if you're trying out multiple stuff. Okay, now let's talk about positive, actual success stories, and basically the step that I took to get there. Honestly, it all started when I saw this interview of Jenny Soho, I think her name is, saying, oh, I don't care about the subject, I can make anything go viral. And I was like, how arrogant. But then I caught myself, I was like, she's getting millions of views and I'm not, so I should be listening right now. I watched her content. While it's not for me, there was definitely like a formula, and she talks about it in the interview. I will link it in the description. You definitely want to watch it. There's absolutely a formula to keep people entertained, but also, most importantly, to make people to make her content rewatchable, to make people rewatch the content over and over again. So I started taking notes. I started figuring out a formula for me, for my type of content, but also for whatever I want to do. I need to know exactly what are the steps that I want to take and how I want to tell the story, because there's a billion ways to basically create a TikTok that will work, that will be shareable, that will be rewatchable and all that. But at a certain point, you have to figure out exactly what you're gonna do so you don't have to guess all the time, which is a big part of being a full-time content creator. You wake up, you guess. So let's talk about the format. The format is a voiceover explaining a story. It can be anything. Even if it's a boring type of situation, with your own formula, you can make it sound exciting, or at least entertaining enough to get people watching till the end. Usually you want to start by establishing a goal or explaining a problem that you have and how you plan to solve it. If it's a goal, you explain how you plan on reaching it. You immediately go into the first step, the second step. If you encounter any issues, any problems, I don't know how to talk about like the narrative scheme in English. It's something that I learned in French. But basically the element of conflict. The hero journey is usually we present you the hero, make you care about the hero, establish their lives and their character, and then something happens that's gonna challenge them. Then they take a lot of steps in order to arrive to the climax or conclusion. Then at the end, you can explain, well, in a normal, typical narrative scheme, you would explain like the whole resolution and basically how the future is gonna play out. In this case, we're gonna erase that last part. We just go to the climax and that's it. So after encountering the problem, you explain how you're gonna solve the problem or basically compromise and how it's gonna affect the outcome. If there are any more steps, you wanna go through them very, very fast there so that people don't get bored. Then you can arrive to the climax, but a little tip to make it even more suspenseful in a way, you can build up to the climax. You can remind people what is at stake, basically, and then give them the result. The thing that really stood out to me watching this interview is something that she said about the climax and how she would rush the climax. As in, the climax is actually the shortest part of the video. And I know the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, aren't people going to be disappointed? Or is it going to be anticlimactic? So it is anticlimactic in a sense, but people are not disappointed. It just feels rushed, but also the video starts over super fast. And since the climax was rushed, people will sit through the whole thing again just to make sure that they caught how it ended. Because, you know, when you're scrolling, you're watching like TikToks or YouTube shorts and things like that. Sometimes you zone out a little bit, or sometimes you think about something, but you know that the whole point is that you're watching the whole thing to see how it ends. But listening to her and also getting advice and also observing other creators, I realized that it's not about the it's not really about the climax. You tell yourself that when you're watching a TikTok, you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit through this. But if someone is a bad storyteller, you're usually gonna scroll away, right? If you feel like this is gonna be long and boring based on the person's cadence, their voice, you scroll away. So it's not always about the climax, because otherwise you would watch every long 10-minute TikTok that starts with, let me tell you a story. It's about the journey. You need to be a storyteller that keeps people engaged, and it's not as hard as you might think, or as I make it seem to be. Of course, the biggest skill here is to be able to narrate properly. You need to be able to speak into a microphone and tell a story without sounding bored or boring. I would say that is not difficult, but you also need to do it in a short form content style, meaning that you have to talk kind of like faster than you would normally. You don't have to, but it usually indicates people that things are gonna go fast and they're not gonna scroll away. They're gonna learn a lot in a short amount of time. Then there's writing. something that I absolutely despise. I just don't write. Even when I do those shorts, I don't write. I just go with the flow, and like I'm doing right now, I don't have a script or anything. And I just talk. If I have to pause and then go sentence by sentence, I just come up with the thing and then it's done. So you have to make sure you don't distract yourself from the story with things that really seem unrelated or just too boring or that are gonna make people scroll away, basically. That usually happens in the intro. People will start short form content like it was long form vlogs. They'll be like, hi guys, welcome. My name is blah, 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 blah. And today I'm gonna talk about this. And oh, look you guys, like I just did my nails or oh dude, I went to the gym this morning and blah, blah, like get to the point. Start the story, start the video telling us what we're watching immediately, straight up. Video starts are like, hey, this is what happened. This is my problem. I'm going to try to solve it. And then jump right into, hey, here's the first step that I took and here's how it went. Don't try to do the voiceover in one take. Sit down and actually have sentence by sentence actually telling the story as if you were reading a book, I guess. That's not me telling you to not add character to it. You can add character. You can add little commentary on specific things. If you're talking about like a story where someone told you something and you want to express how you felt, you can say that. Things like, he told me, oh, I don't think you can afford this. So I'm like, who is he talking to? This is great. It helps establish the main character, which is you. Okay, so you have your voiceover and it's completely tight. Honestly, if you can send that audio to a friend just for feedback and they might tell you which parts were a little too boring or which part they didn't understand and things like that, that's gonna help you a lot. Audio done. Now all you need is footage, and basically you just need B-roll to accompany your story. Keep in mind that you don't have to record the audio separately. You can film yourself saying the story and basically cut it tight and then add the B-roll on top of that, just in case you want to show your face from time to time, just in case there are some facial reactions that you want to show. Again, especially if you are the main character. But with that being said, a sort of reenactment or just showing related pictures or related videos is going to definitely capture them. So all you have to do is basically make sure that everything you're talking about is shown. If it's a story about your local McDonald's, make sure you're showing a McDonald's somewhere. It doesn't have to be the local one. It doesn't matter. Help people picture the story. And yes, even if you feel silly, you might want to film yourself reenacting the emotions. Part of the story says, I was so disappointed. Film yourself going, oh, I'm disappointed. You know, you might cringe while editing it, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna help sell the story. It's gonna add what is called emotional beats. And then finally, you don't have to do this part, but I recommend it, or try it at least, is rush the climax. If it's a goal that you're trying to reach, just be like, and we reached the goal. That's all you need. One short sentence, that's the climax. I'm not gonna tell you to clickbait. I'm not gonna tell you to have 10 parts of a story. You don't need that. You're gonna tell the story from beginning to the end, but the end part needs to be short. What else? Fluff. The only thing you can do from this point, you already have a pretty good short in your hands, a pretty good TikTok or reel, whatever. All you can add from that point is just fluff. It things that is not necessary, but if you want to have your own style and really show off, you can add sound effects, you can add flashy captions, although even normally you need to put captions on everything. It's gonna keep people watching and reading and stuff. But if you want the fancy kind of caption and all of that you're gonna do on your computer, you can do that too. But it's not necessary. So here's the thing. After writing down a bunch of notes about my formula and all of that, and basically this formula, I decided to make my very first short that would actually follow this formula. I had never made a short like that before. Narration is not necessarily my strong suit, but now I'm working on it. But in order to make sure that the strategy actually works, I needed to pick something that wasn't necessarily part of my niche. Now, my main TikTok account talks about like OBS Studio and live streamer tips, just like this channel, right? I decided to make a TikTok about a label printer that I bought. So a piece of tech. I wasn't necessarily solving any problems. I just saw someone who was labeling their the birthday of their tech, so they know when they bought it, when it eventually breaks, so they can tell, oh, did that last long? Was it a good investment or not? So I recorded the audio separately first, because I knew I didn't want any part where I was just sitting looking at the camera and talking. Then when the audio was done, I just recorded quick B-roll and stuff like that. Oh, I said, oh, I went on Amazon. So I went on my phone, screen recorded just me scrolling in Amazon search. I also recorded like a tech review when I was unboxing the label printer. So I managed to use that footage too. I had issues when I first got the label printer. So that was my big obstacle that I had to go over. That was like the plot twist, you know? It's like, oh, I have this thing, I'm excited, I finally get it, and it doesn't work. So it's like, oh, what is it gonna do? And then the climax was, all I had to do was update my phone, and then it worked. It's really good. I recommend it. That's it. So I basically followed Jenny's advice and also a bunch of other videos that I saw. And I was like, I've been making content for so long. There's no way that this video is going to do better than the others, especially since it's not really part of my niche. I do OBS Studio tutorials, StreamerBot, and things like that. None of my audience really cares about like a label printer. It was also at the time that I learned about the whole Instagram share to feed thing. So I posted it on Instagram, and it was, well, it became quickly my most viewed Instagram reel for sure. It got, let me check. It got 71,000 views on TikTok, when I usually average around 2,000 to 8,000, I guess. On YouTube, it currently has 14,000 views, when my average is something around 800. And again, a video that's supposed to be out of my niche, it was supposed to flop. Even per the algorithm, I've been posting things about OBS and some of them worked really well. I have videos with like 1 million views on TikTok about OBS and stuff. So the algorithm was supposed to be like a label printer. Get that out of here. But it didn't, it still worked. So that definitely made me rethink the whole way that I've been approaching short form content. I used to be lazy when it comes to my main TikTok channel, just repurpose my normal videos. Sometimes it does really well, to be fair, and it's like not a lot of effort. But what I should really be doing is using that formula to basically repurpose the content, but re-record the audio. But on the other side, on my new TikTok accounts, I've been doing the opposite. I've been the opposite of lazy. I've been working too hard. For example, on my VR channel, I have stuff that I spent too much time on just for them to completely flop because I didn't have a strategy. My strategy was, I'm gonna make good content. I'm gonna bring cinematography and also like the novelty of virtual reality, and people are gonna watch it. The algorithm is gonna push it because it's good content. It's high quality and no, you need a formula, you need a strategy. And of course, if you're starting out from scratch, like really from scratch, you've never had, I don't know, a viral TikTok before or something, throw stuff at the wall. See what you enjoy doing versus what people enjoy you posting, figure out your target audience, figure out your niche and things like that. But sooner or later, if you want to be consistent, which is the key, you're gonna have to have a formula. And in this video, I just explained just one possible formula. Maybe it doesn't match with your specific niche. Maybe it doesn't match with who you are as a person, as a creative person, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's the only one. I'm just saying that if you really want to see success on the long run, eventually you'll need to stop winging it and you'll need to come up with a proper strategy. I have been Gal Level. You can follow me on Twitch if you'd like to talk some more about content. I currently have 24,000 followers on TikTok. Hopefully this video doesn't age badly. And Happy New Year. We are 3 days away from 2024. Go out there, make me proud. Gal Level out.